All right, let's talk all things tax now. It is tax season. One of my colleagues was busy right now on the eFiling platform. He just left. He should have stayed. Had he known that we were going to have this conversation, because maybe my next guest, Roxanna Naidoo, would have been able to help him a little bit better than me. You see, there's one thing that I dare not do, Roxanna, and that is do my own taxes. I was just like, I dare not take that risk with SARS. I prefer other people who are experts in it to just say, give me all your receipts and all your information, and then we will do it. How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me, Bridget.
Oh, listen, I think I might need to move your mic just a little bit closer to you.
How's this?
Yes.
Perfect.
Because you have a soft voice. Director at Global Strategy at, is it Latita Africa?
Correct. Latita Africa Tax Advisory.
Wonder. We've spoken before.
You've spoken to my COO, Rezal Manicus.
Okay. So the tax season is here. For 2026, and people have already begun filing. And you'll say that one thing that many tax payers overlook is who controls their SARS e-filing profile. And I guess maybe before we even get to answering that question, let's maybe understand what is an e-filing profile. Admittedly, I went for years not really having one, or not in control of my own. It was in existence, but not in control of it.
So back in the day, I think older practitioners or older taxpayers would remember this. You'd have to go directly into SARS to file a tax return. You'd submit a physical form and you'll submit that to SARS. Now everything's digital, which means that tax return that you need to file is on your e-filing profile. So it's the exact same thing. Any income that you have, anything that you need to declare, your retirement annuities, your medical aid, all of that goes onto your e-filing profile. It's where you declare, it's where you obtain your refunds, it's where you get notification of your refunds or notification that you owe a tax debt to SARS. So it's basically a reconciliation process between yourself and SARS to declare what you have and what SARS has on their side.
So in just drawing a silly example, it's basically the same, the platform in itself, and your profile on the platform could be the equivalent of your file at a doctor's office. Like it's the digital version of what would have been your physical file that has all your stuff when you go see a doctor.
I love that analogy because often I explain to my clients, we call it a tax health check.
Yeah.
When we go onto your e-filing, it's the exact same thing when we're looking for your tax compliance. So your e-filing, you'll notice there's a green button if you're compliant. If you're not compliant, it will flag red. So very similar to your physical health check, you'll have a tax health check that SARS will flag you either compliant or not compliant based on what you've submitted or if there's anything outstanding.
Now, this question around who controls your e-filing, why is it so important to pose that question and to ultimately answer it with great understanding as a taxpayer?
I think this is the most important time people should be asking that. It's tax filing season. Everyone needs to know what's on that profile. Every taxpayer needs to know what's on their profile. And this is the time where people realize some of the biggest queries or the largest amount of queries that come to us is, I can't access my e-filing. Do I have a refund? I don't know if I have one. Am I owing SARS? I don't know. I don't know if I have returns outstanding. And these questions come up because they don't have access to their own e-filing profile. So ensuring that you have access to that is firstly a right. You have the right to your own e-filing profile. No one else but you. You can share that profile or give shared access or hand it over to somebody. But that's why that conversation is important today on how do you share that access and what is the controls process to ensure that you still maintain full control of your own e-filing.
All right, we'll come back on the other side of Ondalambana and we'll get into the nitty-gritty of it. She's in the studio, so if you have... you can sneak in one or two questions about your taxes, but you've got to sneak them in now on our WhatsApp 0614104107 because she's not in for very long. So if you miss the opportunity.
Bridget Masinga, weekdays on The Full Circle.
All right, we're talking to Roxanna Naidoo, who's the Director of Global Strategy at Latita Africa, and it's tax season. So who controls your SARS e-filing profile and why it matters? 0614104107 is our WhatsApp line. If you want to send through a quick query, maybe you're struggling with something on your e-filing profile that she can help you out with quickly, or maybe you've been asked a question that has been boggling the mind and you just don't know whether to tick yes or no. She's the person who would be in the know, but you got to get that in right now because we have limited time. You were talking about the access to e-filing before we went on the break. And a lot of people, even I said, I have a profile, but I've never really gone on there. I think I've gone on there once in however many years, 2 years ago. I've entrusted that access to my tax practitioner who handles all my taxes. But why does it matter for us as individuals to have control? And who should have access outside of yourself, especially if you don't file your own stuff?
I think I want to start that conversation with who bears the onus when it comes to filing a return. And who's responsible ultimately? And this is not an assumption. This is the law. By law, the taxpayer bears the onus. So if you owe a SARS debt, the taxpayer bears the onus, not your tax practitioner or your accountant. If your return needs to be filed, there's no excuse of, but my accountant forgot to file it. The taxpayer bears the onus. If something's filed incorrectly, but I told my accountant and he missed, the calculation. Does not matter. The taxpayer bears the onus. So what happens is we, as you said, you trust your accountant. You put all of your trust into your accountant, your tax practitioner, and they're responsible ultimately to file your returns. But you are responsible ultimately to ensure that it's filed correctly. Just because your practitioner has access to the profile and is doing the tax calculations, submitting the returns, attending to the assessments, does not mean that you ultimately don't have oversight of that. You have to have oversight because you're the one that's responsible. When the debt is there, it's not the tax practitioner that has to pay it, you do. And what happens is taxpayers end up finding out way too late. Either the accountant has gone MIA, sometimes the accountant passes away. As you said, you've had this practitioner for a very long time. They traveled the journey of life with you and they're not going to be there permanently. Or they're in a company and that tax practitioner is replaced by someone else. And there's so many variables that you're putting your entire tax profile in their hands. And when something goes wrong is only when you realize I can't even access my own profile. I didn't realize in 2018 he calculated my income incorrectly. And now down the line, you've realized you've now incurred a large tax debt. So when the practitioner submits whatever return, when you get the assessment, when they're doing the calculation, the onus is on you to ensure that it's correct. And you can't do that if you don't have access to your own profile.
Yeah. So true. Okay, I'm going to do better from today. from this year, I'm going to do better. Because, you've already outlined what could be the risks and the challenges if you don't have access to this. And you're not in any way saying that someone like myself should not take over their taxes, because I am petrified of doing my own taxes. You're just saying, know what's going on. Have oversight, know what's going on, have access, have those details, because anything could change at a drop of a hat.
Absolutely. Yes, we do rely on tax practitioners and accountants for their technical skill, their technical know-how. It's what they do best. But when things go wrong and you can't access your own profile, that's when things can go sour very quickly. The worst part is your tax practitioner doesn't know when your email address has changed. They don't know when you have a new bank account. They don't know when your contact details change unless you have to go and inform them. But why should you? It's your profile. You should be able to log in at any time and say, let me go update my banking details because, I've got a refund coming. I want to make sure that refund reaches my bank account. Or if there's an assessment, I want to be notified of it. Not with my accountant who says, I'm so sorry, I've had 6 other clients. I didn't get a chance to let you know that SARS has now started to audit you.
Yeah.
You want to know that first. It should come to your SMS or your email to be notified. So ensuring that those details are updated and that you can freely go into your e-filing and do it yourself, that is extremely important.
Okay, at least I get a gold star for the fact that my primary details are still there. I still get the SMSs and the emails. So, at very least, what are the warning signs that may suggest that maybe a taxpayer has unintentionally given away too much control of their SARS profile? Are there such warning signs?
The biggest warning sign, Bridget, is they now have no access at all.
Okay.
That's the biggest warning sign. So I would say, as a taxpayer, today, go and log into your e-filing. See if you still have access. You don't even know if you do until you try. So firstly, go log in and see if you do still have access. Your accountant should have access, yes, but shared access.
Yes.
You should not be giving your accountant that much of control over your finances. Your accountant should be able to log in on their side and do what they need to do, but ultimately, you control your own profile. And the worst is if you do not have access to that, you cannot see what's happening on that profile.
We've got some questions for you. 0614104107 is our WhatsApp line. Feel free to send through those questions. We'll get to them in a minute. I just also wanted to find out, let's say, okay, your accountant, your practitioner retire, they change firms, whatever life happens, they move away and they have those controlling access details. You don't have shared control. Are you able to contact SARS and reset all of that?
Absolutely. And I think in the past, this was a huge concern, which is why SARS has now changed the game. It's not very recent. It's been for a while now, but I think most people don't realize that SARS has made it much easier for tax practitioners to take over their profile or to control their profile. And I'm going to be a little bit controversial here, because we've seen this in the public where, something goes crazy with the accountant and, maybe fees were not paid on time. And the accountant says, I'm not going to hand the profile back to you until you settle my debt. Absolutely not. That is your profile. You have a right to that profile. On your e-filing, we discussed this earlier, get familiar on what e-filing looks like. Go on there, have a look at the main page. Right on the top, there's a button that you can click on to change your details. So if that accountant, let's say he's no longer in the picture, if he holds access, you can log in and you can revoke access from that accountant and you can move the profile to another accountant. If you realize, okay, well, it seems like that accountant has full control, none of the correspondence is coming to you. You realize that accountant's email address is there. It's not yours. The accountant's contact numbers are there, which means all the notifications are going to them. Again, you can update the details online on e-filing. You go, you click the button, update details. You change everything to your details. That's how you're able to do it there. Alternatively, if there's still trouble with that, contact SARS directly. Again, it's your profile. You have a right to it. No accountant can hold that profile hostage.
Let's take a quick pause. We come back and we get to WhatsApp.
Can I do a proper scanning of my SARS, because I went twice to SARS and the outcome is not right for me. And then, because I don't understand, people with the same income that me, with the same things that I have, they never pay money in SARS. Auto says me I must pay in 10,000 Rand the first time, the second time 20,000 Rand. So I went a couple of times in to correct it, but doing disputes, but it's still not correct for me. Now they take my sales money of 30,000 Rand. So yeah, I don't know what must I do more.
Ma'am Masinga, how are you? Ma'am, I have a question here to Miss Naidoo. I have a company that has been registered for years, and I've been getting messages that I need to submit my tax filing. And since I've ever opened a company, it has never received even a single job. You understand? I opened the company in 2019, and then I got I was scammed in 2020 during the COVID, and then from there the company collapsed. So I want to know, am I running any risk or anything? What can I do? Because currently I'm a truck driver. I don't have enough time to go to SARS and all that. So what do I do to find out the full information on what is happening with the business account in terms of SARS? Thank you.
Hi, Bridget. Can you please ask your guest there if you can submit your receipt from men's clinic, the ones that we normally pay for men when we go for men's clinic. Thank you. Bye, Bridget.
I'm no expert, but I would venture to guess that a receipt from man's clinic. Okay, rule of thumb from my tax practitioner, and Roxanna is going to tell me whether she's right or wrong. She says submit every receipt. Well, at least I give her every receipt, especially every medical related anything.
Absolutely. Submit everything. That does not mean that you're going to get a refund or, some type of a tax credit on everything. But as a rule of thumb, rather safe than sorry.
Yeah.
So whatever receipts that you have, I always joke about it. It's the internal joke with accountants and tax pracs. Keep a little shoebox.
Yes.
Keep a little shoebox and just chuck all your receipts in there. And at the end of that financial year, give it to your tax practitioner, and they have the painful exercise of then going through all of that. But yes, submit whatever you have and let your tax practitioner then, do the full calculations to see what you are going to receive on the other side.
Absolutely. I submit everything right down to Nando's. I go drop off my little shoe box, and then about 3 years later, because I get assessed every year, she returns my 3 shoe boxes and we start again with the other shoe boxes. And then she reminds me, don't throw away those shoe boxes for a couple of years.
Correct.
And then the other question, company registered for years but didn't do any work since 2019 of its registration, gets reminders for tax filing. Is he running any risks there at all? Should he be declaring a 000 because the company is registered?
I think I'm going to hire you to advise my clients. Yes, absolutely. So remember that just because you're not receiving an income through the business does not mean that you should not be declaring to SARS. SARS needs to know that you're not receiving an income. They can't just imagine that. You have to tell them. So you have to declare to SARS, for this financial period, I have not received any income. He cannot just have the business just lying dormant. If this taxpayer decides he doesn't want to, proceed with the business, deregister. Don't leave it dormant there. You're now opening up a can of worms that you don't need. Get the business deregistered and make sure that you clean up your tax compliance there before it comes and bites you, years down the line.
Because if it's not tax compliant, he does run the risks, right, that will ultimately affect that business registration and profile and everything else. And then somewhere down the line, he wants to get operational, not knowing that, things have been blocked or stopped or whatever.
Exactly. And he's now going to be directly tied to that business. So we don't want, that type of financial burden on him when he tries to open up another business.
Last question, the gentleman before. It sounds like it could be a tricky one. Auto assess. He's visited SARS twice, is what I gathered. The outcomes are not right for him. Those were his words, not in his favor. But he's comparing himself to other folks, and I think there could be nuance that he's missing.
Firstly, we can't compare, your circumstances to another taxpayer. We have to look at, each person in their own merits. What are their income brackets? Do they have a pension? Is there alternate income? Are they provisional taxpayers? Every taxpayer has their own set of circumstances. This gentleman sounds like he's followed the right process. He has gone to SARS, he has filed a dispute, and remember the dispute process is not just because I disagree, I don't want to pay. It means you need to have actual merits for why you disagree, actual rationale behind it, to be able to prove to SARS that this amount is actually incorrectly calculated and is not due and payable to SARS. If there are actually true merits for his dispute, there should be a favorable outcome. unless he has not been able to successfully prove his case. And as you said, that shoebox should have all of the evidence that he needs.
Well, we'll leave it there for this afternoon, Roxanna Naidoo. Thank you so much for coming through. We got a flurry of questions, but we only have so much time because we have the next guest already standing by. But because tax season is still open, maybe we'll bank this conversation to be continued at a different date and see what other advice our folks can get from yourself. And Roxanna is the Director of Global Strategy at Latita Africa. Where can they find you, by the way?
LatitaAfrica.com. You can check out our website and you can contact us on there.
Wonderful stuff. That's where we leave this one on the tax season. It's just a gateway conversation. The tax season is long, so we might revisit different elements of it somewhere down